Dr. Lou on all fronts, and let me just say we're going beyond the boundary. CARICOM tonight, beyond the boundary. Yeah, that's it. We're going beyond the boundary. Let me explain what that means. And in studio, I'm got Lady Kim, we got you, open mic, because it's about your thoughts, open mic, on CARICOM. And let me just begin, people. Credit to the Minister, Alexa Lightbourne. Minister Alexa Lightbourne. She has certainly extended the invitation to Bermuda's people to give your voice. We will continue to have this conversation until decisions are made about full membership or not. But certainly we cannot say that there aren't the attempts to engage you, the public, in the decision making. Town halls, yeah. There's been no shortage of conversations, certainly on all fronts, and Curb and other public settings having the discussions. And so, you know, we want to extend and expand upon this. And what I want to do tonight is this here. We saw lots of public response. We saw former Minister of Finance Bob Richards' long discourse on chalk and cheese. In other words, fitting a round peg into a square hole. That's another way of interpreting it. And so we're going to deconstruct some of that argument, but also I think Michael Scott had something to say. We're going to make some comments about his opinion piece. But the minister took aim at CARICOM claims from Richards. And so we want to Michael Scott had some of that. But like I said, as we do that, and, you know, credit to the minister and government, they've done I believe they've done a lot in terms of putting it out there to the Bermudian public to listen, read, formulate your own perspective, listen to other opinions and formulate your arguments. And like I said, I think Bob Richards put something out there extensively worth reading. Chris Famous put something, facts. Credit to him. And I know it's certainly something he has discussed openly on his network radio program. But where are we going with it? And so for the first half, I want to unpack some of what each of those persons said, responses to by the minister to Bob Richards and other sentiments and statements. And let me just say, I want to also share, I mean, if you haven't read the green paper, and let me just say this to all the regulars who call in, I trust that you have read it, right? Because, yes, your opinion matters, but we've had enough time to read it, and it has its pros and cons in it, and we're going to get into some of that. At the top of the hour, and this is beyond the boundary. This is where we go beyond the boundary. I want to introduce a global perspective. It's all a global perspective, but a global perspective in the context of Professor Jiang. He gives 3 important trends that we need to be looking at right now. And these 3 trends, I can tell you, will have implications for CARICOM, whether we become full members or stay associate members. And so it doesn't matter. So what I want to do first, I'm going to play the clip. There was a clip together for CARICOM, And like I said, that's on the website, the government's website. It's addressing concerns, also raised by the former minister. But it has a little clip. I'm going to play this clip to set the tone for what we're doing or talking about tonight. And we'll go from there. So here we go.
And I remember the shift that it had for me, informing my identity like never before. When you understand where you come from, you move differently, you stand differently, you choose differently.
When we look at Bermuda, there's much more to us. When I look at myself, when I think about myself, I think about my grandfather's heritage as a condition.
If you look at the history of Bermuda, you don't have to go too far to find that there's always been a very strong connection.
If you go to any other island, the dialects may differ, what they call the foods may differ, but the customs are very much the same.
When you look at all the facts, it shows that we are inextricably connected to the Caribbean's economic development, its historical development.
We brought teachers from the Caribbean. We brought people in many trades. We brought chief justices who've helped to make Bermuda the quality that we enjoy today.
Just the way we look at each other, just the way we are warm with each other in Bermuda, this natural feeling of we belong.
By developing interregional ties and connections, it's like having tools in a toolbox. The more tools you have in your toolbox, the more capable you are of finding solutions to some of the challenging issues that we continue to face.
The story of us.
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 Bermuda's story is a Caribbean story. Remember who you are and who we are. Learn, ask your questions, and participate.
Now, there you have it. There you have it. That is the segment that's been put out by the government, by Minister Alexa Lightbourne. You may have, or I'm sure you can identify some of the participants in that particular clip. The former Minister Ewart Brown, you had Reverend Tweed, you had also MP Chris Famous, you had Stacey Lee of Curb, and like I said, there's been no shortage of persons and groups who have been speaking to this subject matter. In addition to, I'm sure, those of you who've done their own reading. You've done your own reading on this, which is very important. And, when I go through the document, let me just start with the green paper. When I go through the green paper, and I alluded to this the last time we had some discussion, so it's somewhat of a review of the green paper. But, you have more time to read it, you pick up new things. And so what is clear? What is clear in terms of even Bob Richards? What is clear in terms of Michael Scott? What is clear in terms of the minister's response? You heard it also for many of those who spoke. Our cultural connection. There's definitely no argument with that. None of us can argue with that. There's a cultural connection, of course, we have to the Caribbean and our Caribbean families. Whether it's St. Kitts, Jamaica, Barbados, any of the 14, or those who are not identified. In other words, culturally, we can find relatability, right? We can find relatability. But what is evident, and if we go to and think in terms of former Minister of Finance Bob Richards' statements in response, what is clear is Richards, as the former finance minister, it's chalk and cheese. And there we're talking, or what's chalk and cheese? It's the strong or the economic difference that he speaks of. And, you know, the two economies of the Caribbean versus Bermuda's economy are just not the same. And I asked the question, well, do they need to be the same? Or in business, do we have a responsibility in terms of trade? And I think the minister also counted with some points in using Bahamas as a good example in terms of some of the so-called geopolitical risk. And we want to get into that because I think that's one of the stronger counterpoints that Bob Richards puts out there, that there are greater geopolitical risk to Bermuda becoming full members. And I say, the way things are globally right now, full member, associate member in this particular political climate, doesn't matter your membership to anything, you're going to be at risk. And we're going to get into that deeper in terms of the American implications of this here. So I have to share with you, let me just share some of the opening statements. And this is coming from minister. I just pulled from some of the key salient points. Minister of Home Affairs, Alexa Lightman, said, CARICOM is building regional food security frameworks, supply chain resilience programs, and collective trade negotiating positions. Associate members observe, full members shape. Now that's bold. In other words, interpretively, the minister is saying, look, Bermuda, we don't want to be observers in this as members of CARICOM. That's why the associate membership has us as observers. We want to be full members who shape some of these things. CARICOM is building regional food security frameworks, supply chain resilience programs, and collective trade negotiating positions. Well, as full members, Bermuda, quote unquote, would be at the dinner table making some of these decisions. Bob Richards, in his piece, he says, becoming part of a group of small nations whose economies are fundamentally different from ours and who have significant issues with our major trading partners, namely the USA, is not in our best interest. That's Bob Richards. Now, Michael Scott had something to say about this. Michael Scott said in his piece, his opinion piece, alignment by Bermuda, our peoples, and our mixed economy of tourism and international finance, along with the independent nations of the Caribbean, is strategic, native, natural, and bloodline. Full membership also allows Bermuda to balance its historic relationship with the United Kingdom alongside fair and constructive regional engagement. That is a statement that makes me go, I want to hear what you have to say about that. For Bermudians, this is still Michael Scott, for Bermudians, this approach opens avenues in employment, education, health cooperation, and regional leadership, converting shared history into purposeful advantage for the years ahead. All right? That's Michael Scott. Now, I always like to dig deeper, and like I said, everyone, I'm sure you've read the story of us, the green paper, and you got to dig into some other things also, which maybe we all are if those of us who follow this stuff, we know that Mark Rubio, Secretary for the United States, went down there to CARICOM and, basically shared his role. But there was a document, a Global Americans report, actually, and this was done in May 2025. The state of U.S. CARICOM relations. As a matter of fact, you can go online and pull it up, easily accessible. The state of U.S. CARICOM relations, stepping into the next era, right? Now, when we talk about the geopolitical issues and concerns, there are things in this document that captures and reflects some of the geopolitical implications. You're talking about a high-level working group who were a part of this document on crucial issues in the U.S. and CARICOM relations. So we're clear that the U.S. has a role to play in CARICOM. So listen. So this is coming out of this very same document. For the United States, it is difficult to avoid engagement in Caribbean affairs as the region is a critical, strategic underbelly for economic, security, and geopolitical reasons. And of course, people, we already experienced the implications of Venezuela, Trinidad, Guyana, and somewhat of the split divide that has resulted with U.S. interventions, especially with those two, which places into context some of the geopolitical implications that Bob Richards speaks to when you do not get the betterment of an ally like the United States. The Caribbean Sea, which laps up along the southern coast of the U.S., serves as an important zone for agriculture and capital goods on their way to most of the rest of the world. In addition, the Southern Caribbean, specifically Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago, as I spoke earlier, is expected to play and are playing an increasingly more important role as a source of offshore oil and gas production. Right? And you got to remember, again, people, geopolitical implications. What is it? The shield of the Americas. Trinidad, Guyana, I'm not sure if Suriname, I think they were mentioned, but certainly Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago have been pulled into the shield of the Americas with other Central American partners of the Americas. And the Americas in this context, of course, North America, Central America, South America. So, geopolitical implications. And they say, consequently, it is critical for the U.S. to have a coherent and clear Caribbean policy, which it is currently lacking. I have to read that again. Consequently, it is critical for the U.S. to have a coherent and clear Caribbean policy, which it is currently lacking. There is a pressing need to know what the rules of the game are, and that's coming from the State of the U.S. CARICOM Relations paper. So I asked this question: is full membership to CARICOM for Bermuda going beyond the boundary, or is it more of playing between the lines without addressing an important issue here of independence? That's a significant question, because in much of whether it's Bob's Richards' article and even Minister Lightburn's rebuttal and response, the facts that's coming from Chris Famous, or even Michael Scott's piece. Independence is not a discussion. And again, it brings up the question: full membership, associate membership, does not change your colonial status. Full membership still will warrant whose permission? The British government. So, while we have our cultural relatability, our cultural heritage connections, while we have all of that, right? How are we to talk about full membership? How are we to talk about changing our circumstances if we do not, as a people, even in whether or not we decide full membership, what is our comfort level in knowing that we will become full members? Still recognizing that, yes, we've because constitutionally we're still bound, the constitutional order, we're still subjected to your colony. It's still the British government who ultimately will side with or make the decision. And they say, of course, yeah, they'll make the decision based upon whether or not the Bermudian people want or do not want. So we're assuming, let's say that we want it, and the British government say, thy will be done. And, you know, sounds like King Charles is on his way to Bermuda, and we're going to carry on all of their colonial ceremony, pomp and ceremony that comes with colonized subjects out on the streets and waving in his last hurrah, because if he's coming, this be the last time. And I'm sure there are many who will, you know, whether you frown upon it, you'll subject your children and have your children out there on the sidewalk waving and saying hello. Welcome, King Charles, to Bermuda. All right? So these are implications and things that we have to consider as we talk about full membership. But nothing, it doesn't take away the fact. And reading all of them, we all agree. Naysayers to full membership or not, we all agree we have the cultural connection. There's a cultural relatability in us, right? So I'm keen to hear from those of you for the next, let me engage you in this subject matter for the next half hour, because at the top of the hour, I'm going to go beyond the boundaries. We're in the boundary right now, talking about what we already know, what we see is going to happen, not happen. So, you know the number, 297-1027, 297-1027, more magic, 102.7. If you're calling from overseas, 888-257-9086, 888-257-9086. And we're ready to engage you, the listening audience. Good night, you're on all fronts.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Sir. Listen to me. I'm going to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
My organization, which is people related, I'm going to ask you this question. Did the populace, or all the black people, consent to going CARICOM before a discussion was taken?
Not that I know of. Not all the black people. It's very impossible for to get all the black people, but I'll say this here. Hold on, I'm answering part of your question. I will say this here. Out of fairness, the government has put it out there long enough for all of the black people of your organization to respond. But not before. But you're saying not before. It wasn't put out there before. They were there as representatives.
If you consent with the people, if anything that's being done within this black island, because white people know that this is a black island.
All right.
And you have relationships with the slaves down the Caribbean. So what I'm saying, if you consent with the people, discuss with the people before you go CARICOM, then you get something you can relate as all of us as black people and understand comfortability and you mean getting along.
All right, good point you made. So let me take the next caller, but go ahead. Finish.
I just want one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
Anyway, look, you cannot be a CARICOM unless you're a nation. We are the most unique out of all the islands that was enslaved. We are unique people. Everybody can come here from the Caribbean. They can buy houses, and we see that. Frank, what I'm saying, we as a black country, until the young people know that this is a black island that's been through the slave plantations, and the adults are the blame for how we are today.
Got you.
You cannot go into something without the black majority, the voters of this country, having to discuss it and agree, okay, it's okay.
Let's end it there. I want to take the next caller, because what you're saying is, what you're implying also, that's what's going to be shaping the future. That in other words, you're saying you got to take it to the youth. You got to take it to the young people.
No, yeah, and you have to stop worrying about the UK, because UK don't want no part of us.
Got you. Let's see.
Come on, man.
Got you. Spirited caller. Good night, you and all friends.
Yes, Dr. Lou, how are you this evening, my good friend?
I'm doing well, sir.
Yes, good. Two things.
Yes.
One, is a referendum required?
It's not required. There's an appeal for it, or let's say there's a plea for it, but it's not required.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not required.
So it's not required?
No.
Okay. Two, now they just had a youth care festa in the Caribbean.
Yes, they did.
I think it was in Barbados.
Yeah.
And was Bermuda represented?
I think Bermuda did have representation at that.
The care festa?
Yeah, I believe they did. Yeah.
Because it was the youth. It was the youth care festa, right?
Yeah. Bermuda had representation. I'm pretty sure Bermuda had representation now involved in it with the youth. And I know we also had youth representation in a UN summit addressing global issues, mainly the climate issue as it impacted islands and, of course, globally. And so, our youth were active participants in that also.
Okay. And my last one is what would you say, moving between borders. Because Bermuda is such a small place. I know it was some type of uproar about people moving from the Caribbean to Bermuda, even as for employment sake.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I haven't read the minister's green paper yet, but I did read Bob Richards and Chris Famous statements. I haven't read Michael Scott's one. Didn't you know Michael Scott had a...
Yeah, it was a small, relevant piece in the opinion piece article.
All right.
Section.
Now, last week, or when you had the lawyer on...
the esteemed Phil Parentchief you're talking about.
Mr. Parentchief.
Yes, sir.
Just one thing he said that sort of is in back of my mind.
Which one's that?
He said if we went full membership to CARICOM,
right,
we still would have to go through England.
Yes, sir.
The British will still have some say in that.
Yes, sir. Your colony.
Right. So therefore, we can't go for full membership without them
approve
having their say first.
Yeah, well, without them, what it is, what it is not so much that their say first. Bermuda's people are having their say. Our members of parliament, our legislative body are going forward. They are active participants in CARICOM. So yeah, they are the front line for Bermuda's people. And out of what they come up with, and they take it to, of course, Jelly O England, decision is made that this is what the Bermuda people want. It is alleged, at least, that it's a decision that the British government will agree upon if the Bermuda people
so therefore,
make it clear that this is what they want. Yeah.
Right. So therefore, that comes back to my original question about the referendum.
But it doesn't necessarily mean a referendum. Doesn't necessarily mean a referendum. Keep in mind also that as it stands right now, the minister, I know there are a series of town halls, I believe, are planned. On top of it, the website that the government has speaking to the issue is getting lots of data and feedback on people's questions, people's responses. Who else? Curb has been involved in their conversations with interested persons. Certainly, talk radio across Bermuda has had conversation. Corey's program, Blakeney's program, on all fronts,
right,
and other networks bring it up. I would say on Magic 102.7 is probably where we've had most of the extended radio conversation on these things. Yeah.
Okay, my last one is this.
Yeah.
We are currently associate members.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. So our next step would be full membership with the approval of the people of the island. Or can the government just say, we are now going straight into full membership?
They can't. The government can't say they're going right into. You mean without the consent of the people?
Yes.
The government is using the voices of the people to make that decision. So a lot will be derived from people's questions. I'm sure statements being made. I mean, certainly there's been, like I said, enough talk radio where they are also shaping a perspective. At some point, even when they will have town halls, they're gathering their data to get a pulse and sense of where and how the people feel. So they will construct, I'm sure, their own analysis and to say that, well, here's where and how the Bermudian people feel. And on the evidence of the Bermudian people expressing that they do or do not want full membership, or they want to retain or keep the associate membership, then that will be communicated. And of course, like we said, and it gets back to something you brought up, in terms of the final decision, still comes from the UK. Your colony.
My last one, and I'm going to listen over because I took some of your time.
All right.
My last one is Minister Lightbourne working on a time frame as to our next step? And I'm going to listen over. Have a good one.
That's a good question, and I hope to, at some point, have the minister on all fronts for that discussion. Good night, you on all fronts. Oops, lost you. So, yeah, it'd be great to have the minister speak to it. But good night, you on all fronts.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, hello. We're listening. How you doing?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm all right. Now, look, let me sort things out with those two callers. That's a whole other place.
All right.
Now, first of all, Jennifer Smith signed the associate with the Caribbean about 23 years ago. Am I right?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's number one. Now, we are an associate. Whether we are associate or full-time, we still have to go to England.
Absolutely.
If you want something done, and we just can't just up and do it, we still got to go to King George, whatever king is.
King Charles.
We still got to go through
It's got to go through the British Parliament for approval. For approval.
So either way, we might as well just leave it like it is to me, anyway. But the benefits that we have are not used for some reason. It's like all the Philippines that are here and Indians that are here.
Right.
People are saying don't worry about the Caribbeans coming, the boys from down yard coming, right? But they already got massive amounts of Philippines Orientals here that can't speak the language, and they have to have a test to come here, take a test.
Well, I know that has been spoken to in terms of given that people feel that we're having some communication barriers, recognizing that.
You want a cheese pizza, you got a cheeseburger.
Our borders are open to accept persons for employability or employment that Bermudians don't want to do, or even Bermudians do.
But that's only the Asian. That's the Asian. That is miles and miles and 2 days. 2 days of traveling, right? Now here we are in the Caribbean, right there, next door to us. We're also a tourist type of country like we are, and we can hire them. But instead, we are doing miles and miles on the road to get the Asian people here.
Right.
For some reason, they don't like to hire the brothers and sisters from that country. From the Caribbean.
Well, I'll say this here. I will say that to support something that you're saying, or to respond to something that you're saying, even when I played the clip just now, I mean, the participants of the clip clearly articulated that is our history in terms of Bermuda. We have always, you talk about folk of the Caribbean who have come to this island and helped to shape the landscape of Bermuda politically. Turn your radio down. There's a lot of feedback. Well,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of feedback in the back. Sound like you're driving or riding. So.
Yeah, I'm stopped driving to talk to you.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so, what we're experiencing in the context of what you're saying, look, we've always, that is our history. That is the relatability and the connection of our ancestry to the Caribbean. We don't doubt that. And I believe that all persons who have spoken for and against, one thing they all agree on our cultural connections. All.
Caribbean.
Yeah. All of them agree on our cultural connections.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to keep here. We're not going to keep that here with the Haitian community, the Indians and the Philippines and whatever, who's coming about 2 days to come up here.
Right.
And what I don't understand, the other day they said that they can't get nobody here. And we got all those people down in the Caribbean that we can bring here, which you don't have to go through a language barrier, who's in the same sort of situation that we are in as far as, serving the people and, all that. We got all that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we can do it as an associate member for free, for no problem.
Well, you make a good point. You make a good point in terms of even right now. Hold on, even right now, you're right.
Yeah.
Even right now, with our associate membership,
full time. If we become full Caribbean, I'm trying to get the word.
CARICOM members.
CARICOM, then we won't have that option anymore. But now that we are associate, we can bring doctors in. We can bring everybody in, and there's no problem, and there's no nothing.
Well, full membership or associate membership doesn't stop that. The key thing about the full membership also.
Full membership.
And I'm going to what the the minister made it very clear as in terms of full membership. What is key is the fact that, hey, we would have something that we would help to shape decisions at the table. In other words, full membership will give you voting rights in terms of policy, legislative things of the CARICOM. That's what full membership will give.
But do we
the
need
Bermudian.
all that?
Well,
we don't need that. What we need right now, we need to get the way it is set up, whereas we have associates, and we can hire the people from down the Caribbean, which is just a stone's throw away. That does not have to go and take a test to speak English. They'll understand if you want a cheeseburger, you got a cheeseburger and not a cheese pizza.
I got you. All right, my brother. Let me take the next caller. You made your point. Thanks a lot.
Not.
Good night, you on all fronts. Oh, lost you. So, let me just say this here, because again, it's interesting, some of the statements made thus far. And I want to get into, let me just, when I wanted to give somewhat of some of the pros and cons of Richard's argument. And of course, like I said, Minister responded to some things, right? Please hold, caller. For example, one of the pros of Richard's argument, hold on. Richards talks about economic mismatch. He cites large GDP per capita and a unique finance-centered economy that differs from most of CARICOM members, suggesting limited policy alignment or mutual economic benefit. He also, pros of his argument, sovereign risk concerns. Points to, excuse me, hello. Points to U.S. visa restrictions and negative U.S. views of some CARICOM states as potential geopolitical downsides for Bermuda. This is coming out of Richard's argument. And then, of course, practical focus emphasizes pragmatic assessment of, what it will be the trade, investment, credit rating, IMF reliance over sentimental or cultural appeals. So those are some of the pros. But go ahead, caller. You have something to say.
Yeah, and Dr. Lou,
yes.
It's quite interesting what the people that agreed with the minister, they basically probably have found out that their ancestry is from one of those islands. I think all of us have something from an island down there, don't we?
You make a good point, and let me just say, I've said it. Hold on, I've said it. When you read all the articles by like I said, famous Michael Scott, by Bob Richards, certainly when you listen to the video that is being put out there as PR. We all agree. There's no denying our cultural heritage and connection to the Caribbean. None whatsoever.
My ancestry goes back to our in the archives,
which is over 60+% of Bermuda's people.
That's right. He came from Jamaica. He went to the UK. I'm talking about my ancestry, and then came to Bermuda.
And I'll say this here. I mean, Famous, I think, makes a good point, too, because, Bermudians don't frown upon, and I'm saying especially black Bermudians, they don't frown upon identifying their Azores ancestry.
One of their fathers.
They'll speak to
act like they don't want to acknowledge it.
So all I'm saying is people.
Some people act like
some people are selective. We get that.
But all I'm saying is this: are they afraid to have? Because the guy touched on it just now. A referendum. Are they afraid to have a referendum?
Well, I'll say this here. Given the efforts that the minister and the government are taking to get, I guess, as much feedback from the Bermudian people, they have the website. There's no shortage of conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe after they hear, they could decide that, look, let's put this to the vote of a referendum and so forth and see what the Bermuda people feel. But as I said to the caller, they don't have to do that.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
Nice if they did, because this concerns the island.
And let me just say this here: if you go to the website, I think I could be wrong, and someone correct me if it is or it isn't. I think I saw something. When you talk about surveying, questioning, that will be one of the survey questions.
Okay, cool.
Bermuda people, would you? Do you agree? All right, there you go. Good night, you on all fronts.
Yes, good evening. Hey, Lou, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Listen, the caller before the lady just now was talking about all the people that's here working.
Yeah, he's talking about those mainly members of the Asian community, Filipinos and the Indians who are here, and language barriers.
Right,
which we know is no matter which. When you're talking about immigration issues across the globe right now, that's a major one. But go ahead.
Yeah, because I was just, isn't it something in the green paper about open borders or closed borders?
No, they talk about open borders in the sense, and people have been concerned about it when they hear open borders, that for the free movement.
Right. The free
and
movement
it does not... While it implies that and it says that, it's really left to the governments of the country to determine the measure of movement that people can have and will have. And I think there are some of the CARICOM states who do not have open borders as such, where I think 4 or 5, I think Barbados included, are agreeable to it and they allow it. So it's more at the discretion of the country, the leadership, to decide whether or not they're going to open their borders for that free movement.
Right, but are we practicing some form of open borders now with the immigration?
Not really. We have our immigration measures of control. People might feel like there's open border when people feel and see, the large number of persons.
Yeah, because when I hear numbers like 18 Bermudians get jobs and 500 plus work permits that has been allowed, that's not open borders?
Well, again, and when you say open borders, and I'll say this to you, what you're raising warrants, I guess, a more transparent immigration status report. Like, for example, monthly, does immigration put out the number of persons who were granted immigration status for employment reasons, for a long-term stay or whatever? Do they do that? Is there a league table of any kind? Can you go to the immigration site and you see that? So it's that type of thing that I think people are calling for or concerned about. I think you need to see evidence of it.
My great concern was, what job positions?
Well, that's the other thing.
Or what job positions that they applied for that they got work from?
Yeah.
From unions, only 18 got work.
Well, I do believe Minister Hayward's ministry does give clear statistics in terms of
Yeah, because the whole 5 of them can't work in international business.
No.
So somebody tell me, somebody come to the people and say, this is what and who applied for what positions. For Bermudians are not applying for these positions.
Right.
Then most of us won't be so bamboozled as to say, well, CARICOM, if we go to CARICOM, like the brother was saying, we got people to the south of us that are closer than the people in Asia. You see what I'm saying?
I got you.
So what makes the ones in Asia better than the ones, our brothers and sisters and cousins
Well, maybe we need. Let me just say this here before I take the next caller. Maybe it's cheaper labor.
I thought about that too.
There you go. Something to think about. Could be cheaper labor. Talk to you later.
Or they just look like us too much.
Or could be. Never know. Good night, you on all fronts.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
It's pretty interesting that you're talking.
Oops, I lost you. I don't know what happened. You cut yourself off. Good night, you on all fronts.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you. You're broken up. Hello?
I'm clear to this.
Talk now. That's a little better. Hello?
Oh, great. Yes, Lou, I'm glad that we're having this conversation.
All right.
Because I think it's time for full membership.
Okay. Give me a reason why. Give us your reason why.
The reasons why, because we would be to the table. Because right now we're not to the table. You know what I mean? We're being always talked on to, what we can do, what we cannot do. And this is really affecting the young people also. So full membership, I think to me, my personal opinion, is a blessing. Because we get to get together, right, and communicate.
All right.
Food production, trading. Things like this will sort of help Bermuda. Because right now the UK, it's not going to do anything for us. Because we have help to stop them from paying this legal bill that we're paying for. So we can sort of get that out of the way, right? So there's a lot more things that we can do, right? Because the young people need to have this, Lou. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
You see? And it's like saying food. That can come, because right now I get sick and tired of going to the store and seeing all this building of basket stuff. And the vegetables are not that great, but it's edible, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that at the top of the hour, I'm going to share 3 global trends going on right now, right? And that's one of them. And you're talking about issues of they talk about deindustrializing and why it is probably more important that you start being self-reliant and growing your own foods.
Yeah.
And the reasons why. And the reasons why are directly connected to some of the current events that we are all being witness to between the United States, Iran, and Israel. And the Gulf states, right? So those are things to take in consideration. So your point's well taken. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Okay, Lou, one more thing.
Go ahead.
We're talking about what's called now the it just slipped my mind. Voting, right? How are we going to do this here? Are we going to be all the people that come together and vote for this?
Well, again,
what area would we have to be looking at?
Well, again,
I heard a lady talk about something about
referendum. She was talking about
referendum. I think that would be a farce to me. My personal opinion, because we're not getting the vote of the people. To me, it seems like it's this type of word you use, right? It seems it could be poked with. If we get to having an election, we can get the voting in right. I'm sure we'd be all right. Believe me, I tell you.
Well, so you're saying I'm confused in terms of part of the argument. You're saying if we were to have an election where that is on as part of the election mandate, for CARICOM, outright. So with the referendum, you would have that on the table that the people will vote on whether or not, just as we did the referendum in '95 for independence. Right?
Yeah.
And the people voted against that. So you would, so in asking to do a referendum for full membership, it's the same process.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's the same process. So if the Bermuda people, let's just say, and I give credit to the government in terms of, look, people, you want to know more, you want to know rationale, all of that. You cannot say, no one can say that they have not had enough information coming from the government. They've put it on the table. There's a website that takes your questions, that gives you insight about what has been discussed. It gives you other people's perspective. There's enough talk radio. There's enough talk programs. There have been lunchtime sessions on the subject matter. There have been closed private sessions on the matter. So people are talking about it. People are discussing it. And to get to your point, let's just say, and I think a person asks, well, does the minister have a timeline? And maybe people need to know a timeline of when, at what point then, okay, we've heard enough. We can put something together. Do we put something, does the minister put something together to say, look, we're going to put this for the people of Bermuda to vote on? Or we have gathered enough information to ascertain and say, we're going to, we have enough data to convince, I'm going to say convince the public, but also to put forward to the British government, because that's where the final decision lays right there.
Yeah, we have to make that decision.
Well,
that's key.
So that's where the final, your colony, you are a colony, so the final decision lays right there. And it is assumed, let me just say, it is assumed, this is speaking to what you were talking about, it is assumed that if the Bermuda people are for it, that the British government, the UK government, approves. It's assumed.
It wouldn't hear from us, right?
It's assumed. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right.
More time.
All right. Good night, you and friends.
Good night.
Turn your radio down.
Yes. Good night, Brother Lou.
Good night.
So, yeah. So, this is a no-brainer to me that we should become full members.
No-brainer.
No-brainer.
All right. Why?
You see, the government. Okay, so, I mean, we have been associate members now for more than a decade, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in all that time, government has gathered information, data, statistics, and has also been able to determine that full membership is a benefit.
Right.
Come on now, this is common sense. We too often hear from people who have no real understanding or intelligence as to what CARICOM even is or the benefits therein.
Mm-hmm.
And so the government now, would know that.
Mm-hmm.
Being an associate member for more than a decade would know what it's doing when it comes to CARICOM, would know what are the benefits.
So your position is that because they know the people should entrust the government to make the decision on their behalf. Is that your argument?
Well, I mean, that is up to the government. I mean, if the government decides, as you said, to put it to a vote, but I think that certainly the government knows what it's doing. No question the government knows what it's doing. It sees absolute benefit in this.
Mm-hmm.
The government would not be propositioning full membership if it saw no benefit. If really it didn't make any difference at all. And not only that, but even from a common sense standpoint, if you simply, if you're looked at as being a lifetime associate member, then all the other CARICOM nations ain't going to take you serious at all.
Right.
You see? And so when you decide to step up now, attest to the other nations that we want to really participate, we want our voice to be heard. After all, we're here. We've been here now for more than a decade as an associate member. I mean, it's part of a graduation process. Who doesn't want to graduate?
Let me ask you this here, given that you bring that up. Let me ask you this here. Okay. Given that graduation that you speak of, right? Do you view it also as an impetus toward us becoming independent or moving toward independent and discussing that more often and challenging our government to put that measure of sovereignty on the table?
Well, I would certainly see this as a measure. I think is what you said. I would agree that it would be a measure, a necessary step towards independence. because we talk about regional participation and regional engagement and interaction and all of these things.
Right.
And so I think that prior to independence, that we want to certainly be a significant part of the region, and all of that it offers. I mean, clearly there's benefit here. There has to be benefit. Come on, man.
I got
this
you.
Is ridiculous, man. We have people basically claiming that they don't see any benefit. There's no benefit. That's such a ridiculous, nonsense, unintelligent.
And you're extending the benefits beyond the obvious of our cultural relevance and benefit, but you're speaking to some of the trade, economic benefits.
Trade,
shared
economical benefits,
educational gains, development benefits, employment opportunity. Just as folk are talking about folk from the Caribbean coming to Bermuda, nothing stops the opportunity for Bermudians to go to the Caribbean. How about that?
Yeah, it opens up. I think that's one of the highlights. In fact, the government has put forward is the opportunities for jobs and that sort of thing.
Right.
But Brother Lou, we just can't be out here in the Atlantic Ocean, not attached to, not really. We just can't be out here by ourselves like this. People.
Well,
we are a tiny little island. Britain is far away from us, and Britain doesn't really, it doesn't really participate all that much. I mean, its systems is here, but it doesn't really participate all that much, you see? And it's probably because of the distance.
I don't know if it's to do with the distance. It may have, when people talk about our so-called colonial status, and with the governor, who is the spokesperson for the king,
right?
There's that representation that's on the table. So being far away is 21 square miles to me, because the representation of the governor, who is the agent for the UK government, is here to oversee the subjects of the land.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So the doors. It would seem that it may come down to maybe a black and white issue at the end of the day. It might be become a black and white issue. We don't see necessarily those of us that are black don't really see England as our friends, so to speak. We don't really see England and the British and so forth as our friends. Those of us that are black. You see what I'm saying? So.
We know that in the UK right now they're wrestling also with their own racial concerns and immigration concerns. So you're not far-fetched and out there with your statements.
It's a natural progression, I would see there as well. A natural progression that we participate more with our actual neighbors, you see,
right?
Our actual neighbors. It's a natural progression. I see it.
Well, let me extend and always feel free in the second half, because I want to see if you feel it's a natural progression when I introduce what's outside the boundary. You see, right now we've been discussing things within the boundary.
Okay.
No one's hit a 6 yet. All right, everything is within the boundary. A couple of 4s.
Yeah, well, you got
right. That's the cricket. That's the cricket analogy. But I'm gonna share a clip.
Yeah.
And it's gonna talk about 3 global trends. And these 3 global trends, it does not matter. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet right now. Including Big Bad America. Doesn't matter.
Really?
These 3 global trends impact affect all of us and will affect all of us as we address this issue. Yeah?
Okay.
So just listen up. Just listen up. It's coming soon, all right? Take care. Feel free. All right. Let me just say I want to extend thanks to those of you who did contribute to the dialogue. You put some challenges there. And as I indicated, you know, we're going beyond the boundary now. We've been playing within the boundaries on CARICOM. Now we're going outside the boundary. And I'll read it again. And you're calling, just be patient and feel free to call back in after this next segment. But I do want to share. I want to share it one more time. When we take into consideration, and I shared it earlier, let me just pull it up. Here we go. I shared, I'm going to read this again. For the United States, this is in reference to CARICOM, Bermuda, all of the above. For the United States, it is difficult to avoid engagement in Caribbean affairs as the region is a critical strategic underbelly for economic, security, and geopolitical reasons. The Caribbean Sea, which laps up along the southern coast of the U.S., serves as an important zone for agriculture and capital goods on their way to most of the rest of the world. In addition, the Southern Caribbean, specifically Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad, and Tobago, is expected to play an increasingly more important role as a source of offshore oil and gas production. Consequently, it is critical for the U.S. to have a coherent and clear Caribbean policy, which it is currently lacking. There is a pressing need to know what the rules of the game are and who's setting the rules. So we're going beyond the boundary because, again, the Marco Rubio visit to the Caribbean is the game beyond the boundary. And you're going to play whether you want to play or not. Whether you are a member of CARICOM or the Shield of the Americas, there is a strategic geopolitical reason and strategy for the expansion that we see America boasting and putting out there. So we're going to listen to this first. Feel free to come in. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. There are the three trends right now that are changing the world. CARICOM, everything that we see is impacted by these three trends that are changing the world right now. Listen up, people. Listen up. Be patient. Where am I? All right.
Most people are not thinking about right now. Everyone is focused on the daily updates of this war. Who got struck? What got bombed? What Trump said? What Iran threatened? And I understand why. These are dramatic and important events. But what I want to do today is step back from the daily noise and look at the bigger picture. Because this war, regardless of how it ends, is going to accelerate three massive trends that will reshape the entire world. Not just the Middle East, not just America, the entire world. Every nation, every economy, every ordinary person on this planet will feel these three trends in the coming years. And I want to walk you through each one carefully, because understanding these trends now, before they fully arrive, is the difference between being prepared and being completely blindsided. So let us begin. The core idea I want you to hold in your mind throughout this entire discussion is this. We are entering a new reality, a reality in which energy is no longer cheap and accessible. For the past 40 to 50 years, the entire global economy, every city, every factory, every supply chain, every grocery store, every flight you have ever taken, all of it was built on one single assumption: that cheap energy would always be available, always flowing, always accessible. This war is destroying that assumption permanently. And when that assumption breaks, everything built on top of it has to change. And that change will come in three massive waves, three major trends. And nations that understand these trends and adapt to them will survive and thrive. Nations that ignore them will struggle in ways they cannot yet imagine. So let us look at the first trend. Trend one, deindustrialization. So let me ask you something. Why do people live in cities? Think about this carefully. Cities are actually a very strange and unnatural way for human beings to live. You have millions of people packed into a small area, none of them growing their own food, none of them producing their own energy, all of them completely dependent on massive complex supply chains to deliver everything they need every single day just to survive. This only works, this only makes sense as long as two things are true: cheap energy and cheap food. As long as you can import cheap energy and import cheap food, you can sustain massive urban populations. You can have cities of 10 million, 20 million, 30 million people because the energy is cheap enough to power the factories. The food is cheap enough to feed the population. And the supply chains are reliable enough to keep everything flowing. But now ask yourself, what happens when those two things disappear? What happens when energy is no longer cheap? What happens when food is no longer cheap? The answer is very simple. You cannot sustain those massive urban populations anymore because the factories cannot afford to operate. The food cannot afford to be transported. The supply chains start to break down, and ordinary people have to go back to doing something that their great-great-grandparents understood very well: growing their own food, working the land, becoming self-sufficient at the local level. This is what we mean by deindustrialization, and we are already seeing the early signs of this right now. In Southeast Asia, Thailand, and Vietnam are already running out of fuel. People cannot go to the gas station and fill up their motorbikes. They are being forced to work from home. There is jet fuel rationing. Flights are being canceled. This is happening right now. Not in 5 years. Right now. In America, gas prices jumped nearly 80 cents per gallon in less than a month. Fertilizer prices jumped 35% since February 28th. The cost of moving food from farms to grocery stores is rising every single day as diesel prices climb. The American Farm Bureau president wrote directly to Trump, warning that farmers heading into spring planting season face rapidly rising fuel and fertilizer costs. In Europe, energy prices are surging, industrial production is slowing. Germany, the industrial heart of Europe, is already facing the reality that its manufacturing model, which depends entirely on cheap imported energy, is under severe threat. This is deindustrialization beginning. It will not happen overnight, but it will happen. And nations that begin planning for a world of expensive energy now, that begin investing in local food production, local energy generation, reduce energy dependence, those nations will be in a fundamentally stronger position than nations that keep pretending cheap energy is coming back. Trend two, remilitarization. So for the past 70 to 80 years, the world has lived under something called Pax Americana. Pax Americana. What this means is very simple. America, through its overwhelming military power, essentially guaranteed global peace. It was the policeman of the world. It maintained order. It prevented nations from going to war against each other. Think about what that actually meant in practice. Japan, after World War II, was completely demilitarized, and it had no army to speak of, no offensive military capability, because it did not need one. America guaranteed its safety. Germany, same thing. After World War II, no significant military, because America was there. America would protect them. South Korea, sitting 30 minutes from North Korean artillery, able to function as a normal nation, because American forces were stationed there as a permanent deterrent. And even between nations that have tremendous historical hostility toward each other, America stepped in as the referee. Just recently, Trump brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed nations with deep historical grievances, because America still had enough authority and credibility to say, stop. And both sides listened. But now, something fundamental is changing. America has been in this war for 20 days. Over 7,000 strikes on Iran, 13 American soldiers dead, $12 billion spent. And what is the result? The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Iran is still fighting. There is no clear end game, no victory in sight, and the world is watching. Every nation on earth is watching America struggle against Iran, a nation with no aircraft carriers, no stealth fighters, no global military network, and drawing conclusions. The conclusion they are drawing is this: if America, the most powerful, the answer is very simple. You cannot send no army to speak of. No offensive military capability, because it did not need one. America guaranteed its safety. Germany, same thing. After World War II, no significant military, because America was there. America would protect them. South Korea, sitting 30 minutes from North Korean artillery, able to function as a normal nation, because American forces were stationed there as a permanent deterrent. And even between nations that have tremendous historical hostility toward each other, America stepped in as the referee. Just recently, Trump brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed nations with deep historical grievances, because America still had enough authority and credibility to say, stop. And both sides listened. But now, something fundamental is changing. America has been in this war for 20 days. Over 7,000 strikes on Iran, 13 American soldiers dead, $12 billion spent. And what is the result? The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Iran is still fighting. There is no clear end game, no victory in sight, and the world is watching. Every nation on earth is watching America struggle against Iran, a nation with no aircraft carriers, no stealth fighters, no global military network, and drawing conclusions. The conclusion they are drawing is this: if America, the most powerful military in human history, is struggling this badly against Iran, then maybe America cannot actually protect us anymore. Maybe the guarantee is no longer reliable. Maybe we need to protect ourselves. And once nations start thinking that way, the world changes permanently. Japan is already talking about the most significant military expansion in its post-World War II history. Defense budget increases, new missile capabilities, new strategic partnerships. South Korea is accelerating its own military development. Poland has built one of the largest armies in Europe. Finland and Sweden joined NATO. Germany is discussing mandatory military service again for the first time in decades. This is remilitarization. And it's not just about armies and weapons. It is about a fundamental shift in how nations see the world. For 80 years, nations could afford to focus entirely on economic development, on trade, on growth, on prosperity, because America handled security. That era is ending. And now every nation has to allocate significant resources to its own defense. Resources that previously went to hospitals, schools, infrastructure, economic development. The world is becoming a more dangerous place, not because human nature changed, but because the policeman is leaving the beat. Trend 3, mercantilism. So this third trend is the one that will most directly impact the global economy as we know it today. And to understand it, I need to explain what the current global economy is actually built on. For the past 40 or 50 years, the entire global economy has been built on one simple idea: free trade. Every nation does what it does best and trades with everyone else for everything else. China manufactures, Saudi Arabia produces oil, Japan makes electronics, America provides the financial system. And as long as global trade was safe and cheap, this worked beautifully. But this war has revealed something deeply unsettling about this model. It is extraordinarily fragile. One war, one closed strait, and suddenly Japan, which imports 75% of its oil from the GCC, is facing an existential energy crisis. Germany, which built its entire industrial model on cheap imported energy, is facing deindustrialization. South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, Thailand, all of them suddenly exposed as deeply vulnerable to disruptions in global supply chains they have absolutely no control over. And so nations are now drawing a very logical conclusion. We cannot keep depending on global supply chains that can be disrupted by a single war in a single region. We need to build our own independent, self-sufficient supply chains. We need to produce at home what we previously imported. We need to secure our own energy, grow our own food, manufacture our own critical components. This is what we call mercantilism. And we are already seeing this happen in real time. America has passed the CHIPS Act, spending hundreds of billions of dollars to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to American soil because it realized that depending on Taiwan for its most critical technology was an unacceptable vulnerability. Europe is massively investing in domestic renewable energy, not just for environmental reasons, but for energy security reasons, because it never wants to be held hostage by a foreign energy supplier again. India is pursuing a strategy called Make in India, deliberately building domestic manufacturing capacity to reduce dependence on Chinese supply chains. But here's a crucial point. Not every nation is equally positioned to make this transition. America is actually in a very strong position. The Western Hemisphere is extraordinarily wealthy and abundant in natural resources. America has oil, gas, coal, agricultural land, fresh water, timber, minerals, everything it needs to be genuinely self-sufficient. If global trade breaks down completely, America can survive. It will be uncomfortable, but it can survive. But Japan and Germany are in a completely different situation. Japan is a small island nation with almost no natural resources of its own. No oil, no gas, no significant agricultural land relative to its population. It needs to import almost everything to survive. And Germany built its entire industrial economy on imported energy and exported manufactured goods. So what do Japan and Germany do in a world of mercantilism? In a world where every nation is building walls around its own resources, where global trade is breaking down, where supply chains are fragmenting, the answer is stark. And history tells us exactly what it looks like. If you are a nation that needs resources to survive but has no resources of your own, then you have to reach out and secure those resources elsewhere. You have to expand your economic and potentially your political influence into regions that have what you need. And here is where history becomes deeply uncomfortable. And in the 1930s, the last time global trade broke down during the Great Depression, Japan expanded aggressively into China and Southeast Asia to secure the oil, iron, and food it could no longer import cheaply. Germany expanded into Eastern Europe to secure the agricultural land and resources its economy needed. These are uncomfortable historical comparisons, but they are the ones that matter most when we are trying to understand where this trend leads. History does not repeat exactly, but it rhymes. And right now, it is rhyming very loudly, so let us bring all three trends together. Cities shrink as cheap energy disappears, and people move back toward local food production and self-sufficiency. That is deindustrialization. Nations rearm themselves as American military protection becomes unreliable, and every nation has to guarantee its own security. That is remilitarization. Global free trade breaks down as nations build walls around their resources and supply chains fragment into regional blocks. That is mercantilism. These three trends are not predictions about a distant future. They are already beginning right now, today. The fuel shortages in Southeast Asia, the military budget increases across Europe and Asia, the reshoring of manufacturing in America, the energy security investments across Europe, all of it is already happening. This war did not create these trends. They were already developing slowly beneath the surface. But this war has massively accelerated them, like a match dropped into a room full of gas. The gas was already there. The war just lit the match. And here is what I want you to take away from this. The world you grew up in, the world of cheap flights, cheap food, cheap manufactured goods, global supply chains, American military protection, that world is ending. Not overnight, but it is ending. And a new world is emerging in its place. A world of expensive energy, independent supply chains, armed nations protecting their own interests. The nations and the people who understand this transition and prepare for it now will be in a fundamentally stronger position than those who wait and hope things go back to normal, because they are not going back to normal. This is the world this war is creating. And we all have to start thinking about how to navigate it. Subscribe for more analysis of this conflict and its global consequences explained in simple English. And tell me in the comments, which of these three trends do you think will impact your country the most? Deindustrialization, remilitarization, or mercantilism? I will see you next time.
There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. So, which of these trends will impact Bermuda the most? Deindustrialization, remilitarization, or mercantilism? Mercantilism. We might say mercantilism. If you listen to Paul Richards' argument, Chalk and cheese. It's the economy, stupid. Is it CARICOM? Is it Shield of America? This is going outside the boundary. What you just heard is outside the boundary. Outside the boundary, impacting CARICOM, impacting the zone of peace. And let me say, in terms of the zone of peace, when we talk about the zone of peace, we know right now what United States in its remilitarization is doing to Cuba. And we know right now, if you've been paying attention, excuse me, if you've been paying attention, Russia said enough's enough. And other activist groups are saying enough's enough. We can't be amoral, stand by, sit by, and watch a nation in Cuba be starved to death, be denied all of the energies that most of us take for granted. Another form of or attempt of genocide to a country. Whether we agree with their government or not, well, we already know what's happening in Gaza. So, let me go to you. So which one appeals to Bermuda or responds, or is it deindustrialization, remilitarization, mercantilism? Caller, what connection you making?
Lou Simmons.
Yes, sir.
Gulf Commission. Professor Chang is getting some play here.
Yes, he does.
Well, for those who listened, I hope they understand how far behind we are. And the failure of Black Bermudian leadership has been phenomenal here in this regard.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something. You're talking about energy. Energy is going to be key, and low energy, the low price of energy, for countries to be able to maintain their sustainability economically. The grade for Bermuda is F. Already we should have been making a massive investment in green energy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, wind turbines.
Yep.
Still waiting for that.
Lots of talk about it.
I
know our environmentalists, Eugene Dean and company, have been putting that advocacy out there. No movement yet.
Listen, and of course, major expansion in our solar panel, use that term, footprint, necessary.
And affordable solar paneling.
Now, one of the key things he mentioned is that these major nations with these high numbers of populations in these cities, right, are going to be in trouble. But Bermuda's going to be in trouble too, because Bermuda's isolation.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the reality we are in. And getting back to, again, the failure of Black Bermudian political and financial leadership has been profound here. It's been getting away with murder. Okay? Because all we wanted was to have our cake and eat it too. But now everything is coming home to roost globally, and Bermuda will be not immune to what's going to be taking place here.
Well, it's very clear in terms of what Professor Yang is saying. I mean, when you talk about these three global trends, and I mean, you're very much attuned to it daily, as I and others who follow these things geopolitically. Of the three right now, if we're responding to Professor Jiang's question, I would say the mercantilism is the one that we would give attention to immediately. Wouldn't you say? Understanding the financial curse that is Bermuda?
Well, There's no doubt. But we don't have the type of leadership. When I say leader, I'm talking about broadly, not just in the person of one man, for example, say Dave Burke. Okay, like I said, it's almost as if we always want to have our cake and eat it too. So you have the major expansion in IB over the last 4 decades. IB has captured Bermuda's government. IB has captured our regulatory environment. So they are calling the shots.
Which is consistent also with corporations globally. Well, certainly in Western society, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about of course. But we're talking about Bermuda.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying here is that we've gotten too comfortable by being captured in IB and not placed more of a critical lens upon what the impact IB has had in our country. Not to chase them out of Bermuda, but so that we could have began the process, especially after the 2017 election, in terms of a black-dominated PLP government, to start to move Bermuda in what we would know would have to be a more sustainable direction. See, and that takes vision. But all black Bermudans want to do is mimic Anglo-Saxons. That's what they do. Okay? And that's coming home to roost, too. So, now let me say, the one thing about that was somewhat benign about, was this view about America's role in the world. America's role in the world has been fairly pernicious since after World War II, if not before. Okay?
Well, then a war every year since.
Making sure these countries are protected, military, defense arrangements, and all the rest. But you've got to understand, America's role after World War II was to suppress true sovereignty and independence for these emerging nations, both in Africa, along with the French and the other Western nations, and in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Do you know that Iran has been under sanctions for the last 47 years?
Since the 70s.
There are hundreds of sanctions on Iran.
Since the 70s.
It's amazing that they were able to do as much as they've done despite that. People don't understand what's happening here. And then let me tell you else. This is one of his little, how can I put it in terms of his overall analysis here? He seems to take less than a more critical eye upon the role of white supremacy and Western domination and its role and its impact globally. So, for example, if any black Bermudian tells me that they don't understand that right now you have an administration that is steeped in white supremacy, I tell them they're in denial. Okay? What other evidence do you need from Trump, Stephen Miller, Hegseth, who they all brag about being white nationalists? Trump is a white supremacist. What is wrong with you Negroes? And you've got some of them here too. Some of the same people working in IB that you look up at some great white gods because they give your wife or your daughter a couple $100,000 for the charity she's part of, while your young men are killing each other. So I mean, let's wake up, Bermuda, because if we don't, we are going to be in last place. And let me tell you something else you didn't mention, right? The role of the American dollar as the reserve currency for the last 50 or 60 years.
Yeah.
That afforded an immense amount of privilege, exorbitant privilege, as characterized by one French Treasury Secretary about 4 decades ago, which is afforded it the privilege.
You're talking about the petrodollar.
That's the petrodollar, yes. And Bermuda has been able to ride on that wave as well because our dollar was 1 for 1. So, that's all changing now. But again,
let me ask you this here, given that analysis that you just gave. Is that one of the geopolitical risks and from an economic perspective of Richard's argument, for example, when we recognize, for example, the shift in the petrodollar, and of course in Bermuda the equal value of Bermuda dollar to an American dollar here, and the devaluation of the American dollar, the implications of that devaluation to Bermuda's geopolitical relations with the U.S. as a, I guess, trade partner, because we are, is that one of the geopolitical risks? Not even so much of what a full membership to CARICOM would create, but more so what, when we listen to what Jiang talks about, Professor Jiang talks about, that threat in terms of that equal value and Bermuda's economy under threat. Do you see
the threat? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, the threat posed by the. Okay, let me put it this way. Why do you think that they kidnapped? And they had scores of sanctions on Venezuela as well.
Maduro, yeah.
They essentially have, as the decline of Western American empire proceeds, continues. They resorted more to the weaponization of their financial dominance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why the sanctions are used. The sanctions were being used and expanding number of sanctions globally to coerce civilian populations, but to place the governments they have in the sight of the American empire,
right?
To make them bow to America's dominance,
right?
Okay, now so that's why Venezuela was important. If you put Venezuela and Iran together, they must both, in terms of their oil reserves, what they have underground, represent maybe about 30% of all oil and to some degree natural LNG in the world. Okay? They were also making a move to come up from out of America's hegemony, financial dominance of the world, by selling their oil in yuan. The key to America's dominance financially was to cut the umbilical cord. Yeah. Umbilical cord with between the dollar and gold. 1973. What an end to that under Nixon.
Yeah.
But what they did, they essentially backed the dollar by doing a deal with Saudi Arabia and eventually most of the Gulf states to accept only the American dollar in the payment of their oil and natural gas.
Well, look, I think that's a great place to segue because you've been hitting some sixes. You've gone beyond the boundary. You've been betting.
No, I want to wrap up by saying this.
Go ahead.
I really do. Bermuda, we are behind the 8 ball. Okay? We couldn't even, after 8 years, give you free health care. Couldn't even get our education system together. The lack of leadership. What is wrong with you people? Black Bermudians, something's wrong with you. Look, for example, the reality is that we've had this government here for 8 years, man, and we could not even deliver this stuff. We're talking about CARICOM. And if anybody knows me, I'm a West Indian as much as I'm a Bermudian.
Trini.
I want to see Bermuda succeed. I want to see CARICOM succeed because that's our region, from Bermuda down to Guyana and all points in between. But are we really ready for that? We haven't even got our own act together. You have over 10,000 Bermudians who cast votes in 2017. Last year, we had an election about absolutely nothing. We were discussing any of these issues. And you talk about CARICOM, what is that about? By 2025's election, just under 10,000 of those votes cast in 2017 had disappeared. That's last year. 10,000. What are you people talking about? And I'm tired of the older Bermudians, my age and the rest of them, down. Some of those Barclayites get on my nerves, right? And those black Salters graduates. All you're hearing from them, you get the idea that all that matters is that those people aren't in charge. Like that's all your job is about, keeping them from being in charge. What's wrong with you people? It's more than that. Look at the state of your people. Your middle class is declining. Your young men are killing each other. And we've seen that trend for the last 15, 20 years. You don't think that that's connected to the growing financialization of your economy?
All the trends, all the 3 trends that were just identified.
Oh, there's no doubt.
All interrelated.
But don't forget the operation manual for the U.S.-dominated West is white supremacy.
Got you.
And some of you Negroes out there are going to win. Why do you got to say white? That's what it is. That's what it's called. That's what Eva Hudson told you it was. It's resurgent. Again, Trump the other day, let me give you an example.
And this is your last point.
Yeah, first of all, Obama and his wife are a gorilla and a monkey. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was like, that was an easy one. The other day, he talked about the Iranian people. You know, they called them this, called them that. I mean, that most nasty names. And then he says, you know, like, in other words, they have something wrong with them genetically. All right? Okay? And you know what the irony is, how stupid they are? All right? The Iranians are the prototypical Europeans. Those people they call Europeans today, these Western people like Trump and all the rest, they all have traced their roots to nomadic groups who were called the Aryans. Iran, okay? Those nomadic groups left the Eurasian plain, the West Asian part of that place, just east of Turkey, thousands of years ago. They migrated down to what is called the Iranian Plateau.
The Persian people.
And then you have the rise of empires like Persia, same people.
Yeah.
Those same people then migrated past Iran into Pakistan and into what we now call Pakistan and we now call India, particularly northern India. Okay?
It's a deja vu. It's a deja vu of when we talk about immigration, migration. We are bearing witness to, well, like you says, as Yang said, it's the rhyme, it's the rhythms of the past playing itself out again in the 21st century. Hey, always a pleasure.
The multipolar world is already here. That's why they're trying to destroy it.
Got you. Powerful discourse, always as a political analyst that Rolf Kamishiong is. While he may irritate many of you, you cannot dispute or refute some of the facts of the argument. Good night, you and all friends. Good night. Good night. All right. Caller, try again. There was here's what I wanted to share. Please hold, caller. I wanted to share this because when Bob Richards speaks to some of the key or the geopolitical risk for Bermuda from association or turn your radio down, caller. If not, we're gonna lose you. All right, I had to piercing in the ear. Can't do that. Some of the geopolitical risks for Bermuda from association or full membership in CARICOM are such as, for example, they say strained U.S. relations. If the U.S. views certain CARICOM members negatively, visa restrictions, sanctions, law enforcement, and these are some of the things really that Trump has already initiated. He's already done that, right? So that is not a scare tactic. That is something that they've already done, right? I'll go to some others in a few minutes, but go ahead, caller. Oh Lord. Another one was reputational spillover, meaning problems in other member states, corruption, weak governance, organized crime can tarnish Bermuda's international image, just as if Bermuda became a full member, affecting investment, tourism, trust with major partners. I'm just potentially some of the geopolitical risk. These are certain things that you have to give consideration to. It's not scare tactics. These are facts of things that can occur. Good night, you and all friends.
Yeah, Brother Lou, what I hear in that piece, I think was from a previous finance minister. I'm actually hearing an echo on your side too, so I don't know if that might be affecting the song. Let me,
it could be, so you hear it on my side. Let me just turn that down. Let's see if that works. This might be a little bit.
Yes, sir.
That works a little bit.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
So what I'm taking from former finance minister Bob Richards, all I'm hearing is that it's the same old boogeyman. I mean, that's getting so old now. It's just amazing to me that people want to continue to rehash that nonsense to us Bermudians, you know, and I know who it's probably directed at, but it's a boogeyman, and we tired of that. We moved past the boogeyman.
Right.
And
for clarity, the boogeyman here is the threats of the geopolitical risk, namely or specifically to the U.S. that we may offend them, given what our economy is. And I think I'll say this here. I believe the minister counted that point by using Bahamas as an example.
Sure.
The 40 plus years that Bahamas has had, and if there's any Caribbean country that's very Americanized and still maintains its Bahamian identity, is Bahamas.
Okay, then.
Just off the shore.
So we can dismiss pretty much all of what Bob Richards is coming with. And so I still hear echo, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I can't. Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah.
So I see how the government is moving with regards to CARICOM. Yeah. I think I see how the government is moving with regards to CARICOM, and I do think the government sees economical benefit in becoming full member. You can't draw out economical benefit by being a associate member. You're not going to draw no benefit at all by being an associate, but you're not going to draw much benefit. You're not going to draw full benefit by being a halfway member. Now, which of us believe in half-stepping, Brother Lou? Who amongst us believe in half-stepping?
Well, again, Minister makes it very clear. This is about full membership that has you at the table making decisions.
Yeah.
Voting on decisions as opposed to being an associate member who observes the decisions. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's a full runner, and Bermuda needs this sort of experience.
Yeah.
You see, diplomatic experience. Bermuda needs this if we're going to even have a serious conversation around independence. Whatever level, whatever that looks like, this independence, whatever. Because
let me just ask you this before I take the next caller. Is it also your position that our entry into full membership would at least open up a Bermudian dialogue around becoming independent, given our full membership is among independent states in CARICOM?
Of course, man. Like I said, it's natural progression. You see, I mean, there appears to be tremendous economical benefit. You know, I'm saying Bermuda can draw out of these Caribbean nations and what they have to order. Like you had mentioned earlier, when you're talking about food resources and things of that sort.
Which is something that we ourselves, I mean, certainly there are advocacy groups right now in Bermuda that speaks to us growing our own. And when I think in terms of what the last clip I played speaks to what when you're talking about urban communities, I mean, we talk about, let's take Hamilton, for example. Buildings are going up. We're going up, 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 up. There are many Bermudians who frown upon it. As we are frowning upon it, there's also the opportunity. And I know there are advocates that they've spoken to making Hamilton greener. And there are ways to do that. But these are not conversations that are frequently out there other than the environmentalist groups who are discussing it. But you've started something, but let me take the next call. I appreciate you all the time. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Good night, you and all friends.
Yes, good night, Brother Lou. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Quick question.
Go ahead.
Marco Rubio.
Yes.
All right. Didn't he just came out of a meeting with CARICOM?
He was down there over a month ago. Yeah.
Okay.
He was there. Just after the whole Venezuela debacle.
Venezuela, right. Now, my question is this.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Rubio represents the U.S., right?
Yes, he does. It's the secretary.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the plan for the U.S. and CARICOM? Because there ain't no written rules by what they're going by, and Trump's a whole different.
Well, you raise an important question, and the response. I mean, when we look at it, and I think Commissioner Young addressed some of the things too. When we think in terms of the U.S. and Venezuela, yeah,
right,
and following that, we have seen. This is answering part of your question, and CARICOM. Well, we saw the splinter of in CARICOM with Trinidad and Guyana siding with the decisions of Trump in terms of the militarization of Venezuela.
Right.
Yeah. Even right now, CARICOM, CARICOM and that community are having to also and even Bermuda would have to, or should. I mean, there's no statement coming from Bermuda openly in terms of the U.S.'s position with Cuba. But we can all agree with our human consciousness and sense of humanity that what we see U.S. doing to Cuba is amoral. Is certainly for those who want to uphold their Christian faith. There's nothing Christian and Trump claims to be, but there's nothing Christian about those actions to deliberately deny people the basics of life, all those things that we take for granted, proper shelter, food, water, and let me just say this here. Let me just say this here. Water. There's no discussion about this. But when you see all of this theater of war in the Middle East, let me be clear. One of the resources that's under attack is water. Because those Gulf states, it's not like they have, for many of the people who've been to Dubai, sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no fresh lakes there. It's not like
not in the desert.
Not in the desert, people. Right. And that's what they're contending with. Well, there's also I don't want to say the threat. There is also that concern across the rest of the world as something that we will have to give attention to with the escalation of.
Right. Yeah. Now, my next question, and I listened to your answer off air.
Appreciate it. Go ahead.
My next question is this. If should the U.S. then apply pressure like on Cuba, and we are a full member of CARICOM,
right?
Does Bermuda have an obligation or a role to assist?
An obligation or a role. But that to me depends on our own moral conscience. Yeah, one, to go with our limited political global decision making in this particular issue, recognizing when Bob Richards talks about upsetting our neighbor, our partner, that would be something that would upset United States. And this is something that the Caribbean countries are really right now contending with. They are contending with that now because some are saying, hey, we are the zone of peace. And Cuba is our neighbor. We've always, given, when you think in terms of the threats that have already been imposed upon Caribbean nations, right, to not accept or engage in any partnership with Cuba with their medical doctors, some of the best medical practitioners in the world.
In the world, that's right.
So, Bermuda, I almost equate it with Dr. Brown making a conscious decision, a humanitarian decision, to come to the aid and the support of a people.
Of the people, right.
Of four, yes. Of four people who, of course, were facing...
And the fathers of England.
Of course. And just take that as an example. Will Bermuda ruffle the feathers of England, although even England refused to get drawn into some of that inhumane treatment of Cuba.
Correct. So this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm at, should we take a seat at CARICOM? We still now have to go right back to England.
Yes, we do.
For any decision.
Yes, we do.
We make.
Yes, we do. Do you see? So you're summing something up at the end of the show here, brother. Because here it is, we all agree. We all agree of our cultural connection to our aunts, uncles, grandparents who came out of the Caribbean, our families who are there. We all agree of our cultural connection, customs and norms and all of the above. We all agree of that connection.
Yes, we do.
But we also understand our geopolitical space and socioeconomic space, right, is making us question our moral responsibility.
There you go.
Yeah. So even if we have full membership, you said it. What's the good of your deciding on a full membership?
There you go. Well,
if you're still dependent on a UK government to give you approval.
Decide on whatever decision.
There you go.
We need to make.
There you go, my brother. I appreciate you.
Okay, my man?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have
I
a good one,
appreciate
man.
you too. Woo! My people, I know I'm going to be conscious and conscientious in taking the last caller. I know this is a heated conversation, but I hope it's been an informative conversation for many of you. And all I'll say before I take another caller, the last caller, hey, read the green paper, look at the website, examine, deconstruct all of the arguments. I even go as far as this here. Hey, people, take some of those articles. I was curious, everyone's throwing AI into what we do. It's interesting doing your own critical thinking and then throwing it into AI and see what AI comes up with in terms of the questions you pose. Try some of that. And see what you come up with and see how it either changes your thinking, influences your thinking, or gives you a new perspective on things, right? We take the last caller. And you are the last caller. Good night, you know, friends. Good night.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Lou. Very interesting. I tuned in a bit late. I'm not going to be too long, but your last caller did spark up a very interesting part about we still would have to have a roundtable discussion with England.
Mm-hmm, which is true.
And I would say before we do make this step of becoming a full membership, we should include all our allies. And, our number one ally is America, because most of our infrastructure that we have here does cover America.
Bread and butter. That's what feeds you.
Yeah, our bread and butter. And not only that, to have the representation of being number one. I keep mentioning this, but it'll sooner or later sink in that we are the oldest. No, we are the oldest, right? And yes, we do have connections through family members coming from those different parts. But when they did come to Bermuda, we was already here.
Right.
And looking at the point that through our connections and even helping America to be the superpower that they are with the supply of gunpowder to George Washington, it doesn't seem like much, but it is a foundation in which that we can stood on for quite a while through the historical background of that particular helping, the same way we're talking about helping Cuba and the rest, and look at how
all I will say about that as we close out, because I know that that's a consistent argument of yours in terms of what in terms of our role with America and the gunpowder and all of that.
Yes, we can't block that history.
We can't block that history, but let me place it. I want to bring it fast forward to the 21st century. And I don't.
In Bermuda, this stretch of road is known for speed demons and
militarization that we see going on.
Yeah.
Right. That even for us. And it's interesting, the remilitarization. Bermuda, with what's going on globally right now, we don't know. We're not far removed from, let's say, the remilitarization of the base, of U.S. base being repositioned here again.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, I'll go as far as this. We got Morgan's Point. We got Morgan's Point up there. They're still underdeveloped, and let's just say escalation of any kind. It's not scare tactics, but this is reality. Because we see United States, we see United States remilitarizing and setting up bases as their bases are being destroyed.
The technology in which that we have today is one of the reasons why they closed that base in 1995 due to the fact that they have satellites now. They can pick up my number right now and beam right over where I am and put whatever bomb they want on me right now. Mm-hmm. That's the technology that we have. That's what Trump said to one of those people down in Iran or wherever it was.
Guess what? It's I'll say this here in closing out. It's also the same technology that is failing against Iran.
Yeah, okay, but one of the reasons why.
But their geography makes it that difficult.
Right. I'm just saying that. Okay. Yes. Well, we are in stepping stone mode right now. It wouldn't hurt to have these type of conversations with our allies, looking at who they have the most powerful attention to do what they want to do against us or with us or not. Let's also have that conversation. We've been to CARICOM. We understand. We got paper on it and how we look at it, how the minister sees it, and Rich is doing a very good job in explaining to the Bermudians what is actually going to take place if we happen to become a member of that particular group of people. But the effects in which that it may affect our other allies, like I said, I bring it about, we should also reach out and touch.
Well, let's see. It's left to our representatives to do so. Always appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Have that discussion. Okay?
Yes, sir. Hey, it's been a engaging, high-spirited conversation. Y'all want to go overtime? You're stretch. Oh, okay. You don't want to go overtime. That's nice too. No, this has been very engaging, beyond the boundary. And let me just sum it up. We started out speaking to and giving context to Minister Alexa Lightburn's response to Bob Richards. We had two opinion pieces in Bob Richards, and I cited something that Michael Scott wrote, Minister Alexa Lightburn's response, all of that. What we all agree on is we know our cultural connection. There's no disputing that. When Richard speaks to the geopolitical risk, there's geopolitical risk to, especially in this climate that we are currently in economically, and we know that joining CARICOM full-time or maintaining our associate membership still doesn't deter us from any economic relations or trades or partnerships with persons in the Caribbean. Bermudians can apply for employment in the Caribbean even right now. There's no guarantee that even with full membership that it becomes easily accessible to Bermudians who want to work down there. But still, what it will do, and we can agree that, as the minister made it very clear, it places you at the table in terms of decision making on policies across that region as players in global affairs. And certainly the global affairs in the Caribbean right now, as we have been speaking to, we saw beyond the boundary the role that the United States is beginning to play and exercise more and flex their muscles in the Caribbean, right? As they are attempting to extend and expand upon their, let's just say, Western hegemony, some will say. The Caribbean plays a role, plays a part in that type of expansion. And the trends that we spoke to earlier by Professor Jiang, the reindustrialization, countries are already moving in that direction. The remilitarization, with boots on the ground and war escalates, let's be real. I can tell you, just as Bermudians went to war in World War I and II, you'll be drawn into this one too. Win or lose, but hey, that is the concern of boots on the ground. And of course, mercantilism. And when we place that into context, we would want to give attention to what some of our local advocates are speaking to in terms of growing our own food. Every household, what is your responsibility? And as we do that, there are communities, parish councils, everyone plays a role in supporting their neighbor, their constituents in developing this here. So, no, we have to be self-reliant and produce some things for ourselves. And it's not a far-fetched thing, even with our limited landmass of Bermuda, to grow food for ourselves. Because the reality that's going on right now in the Strait of Hormuz, hey, the whole world can be shut down in a blink. Or let's just say 25 to 30% of world trade can be impacted by the shutdown. And if you understand how prices are rising, we were already dealing with high cost of living. Well, let this persist. He said 20 days. It's 27 days now. Let it go to 40 days and you'll see. So on that note, I know some of you are still anxious to get in on this. Look, this is an ongoing conversation and dialogue. We are making CARICOM part of our geopolitical conversation in the context of the grander scheme of things going on globally. But as we always say on all fronts, keep the peace. We don't fight on any one front. We fight on all fronts.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now. Bermuda Live on YouTube.